calipers.com.
Welcome to another FZ1 video tutorial. This is a series of videos detailing modifications and maintenance performed on my 2007 Yamaha FZ1. I'm Patrick, and thanks for joining in.
FZ1 video tutorial. Brakes Part 1.
Hey guys, Patrick here at caliperdog.com. In the past, I've made video tutorials that are specifically about or for the second generation Yamaha FZ1. But this time I'm performing some basic maintenance that pretty much applies to any modern motorcycle. So right now I've got the wheels off the bike because I'm putting new tires on them, and I thought what better time could there be to do some seriously needed brake system maintenance, more like a complete overhaul. To start with, I'm going to install some braided steel brake lines, front and rear. Also going to put on new pads and do new fluid and do a complete brake system bleeding. Now before we get started, I cannot overemphasize how serious the brake system is. If you have any questions or any doubts, please contact a professional. Okay, having said that, let's get started.
Having the wheels off the bike is not mandatory, but it sure makes things easier. If you want to see the details of getting to this stage, check out my tire change tutorial. Begin by remounting the calipers into position so we can complete the next few steps. The bolts only need to be finger tight. A closed-in wrench is placed on the bleeder valve, followed by a piece of 1/4 inch ID clear tubing that leads down to a drain pan to catch the fluid. Now you can find this kind of tubing at most home improvement stores. Open the bleeder valve about a quarter turn and let the brake fluid drain into the pan below. You can also go ahead and remove the cap from the brake reservoir, but leave the plastic cover in place. Repeat the draining procedure for the other side. You can also pump the brake handle a time or two to ensure the reservoir is empty. The only fluid left in the system at this point is in the lines and the calipers. Remove the bolts that secure the banjo ends of the brake lines to the calipers on both sides. Make sure you have your drain pan below to catch the fluid. Loosen the nut that secures the T-junction mounted under the triple tree. Just in case there is any fluid spill, wrap a clean rag around the lines coming from the handlebars, then the top of the brake line can be unbolted from the reservoir. All that's left to do now is just feed the brake line back down through that metal bracket and then remove it from the bike.
Okay, I've got the stock brake line off the bike, and it's a pretty simple system. It's a single line out of the master cylinder. It comes to a T and splits into the two separate calipers. Most of the aftermarket systems will be two lines, two coming from the master cylinder, one to each caliper. Whereas this one I found is pretty much a dead copy of the stock unit. Now one thing you want to do is make sure that all of the bends in the lines are the same, that the lengths of the lines are the same, that the banjo bolts are the same, and all these elbow bends have got to be very much the same. This is looking pretty good, so this is ready to install. But before I install this, I want to get the calipers off the bike, put in the new brake pads, get them cleaned up, and then we'll be ready to install this. So let's get the calipers off.
Now it's important to ensure that all the fluid is out of the calipers. Since I'm replacing the brake pads, I'm going to use them to push the individual pistons all the way back into their cylinders by prying them apart with a large flat-bladed screwdriver. This will force out any remaining fluid. Now obviously, don't do this if you plan on reusing the brake pads. The pads are removed by first extracting the two clips that secure the holding pin into position. These are located on either side of the brass plate as shown. The pin that holds the clips and brake pads into position can now be removed. You will need to repeat this procedure for the other caliper. Now be sure to discard the used brake fluid in a proper container for your recycling. With everything disassembled, now is a good time to give each of the parts a good cleaning and also a close inspection for any abnormal wear or damage.
Okay, we got the calipers cleaned up, we got the clips and all the cotter pins cleaned up, and we're ready to put in the new brakes. I kept the old brakes aside because I just want to make sure that the new brakes that I've got are pretty much exactly the same. So we're just going to open up a set of these. And I can already tell you they are the same. Yeah, and once we know that's right, we can just take these and throw these away. Okay, when we install the brakes, we want to install them in the same manner they came out pretty much. You're just going to put those in one by one. We're going to start with the cotter pin, or this holding pin. And this is going to go through and hold these in place. But we have to put this little piece in there too. Now, if you notice on the side of it right here, I don't know if you can see that, but after I clean it up, there's a little arrow. 99 out of 100 times when there's an arrow on a piece like this, it means forward or up. And in this case, pointing towards the bleeder is up and forward. So when we have our pads in and positioned, we just want to have this pin pulled back a little bit, holding one end, if you can see this, and then put our pin, clip holder rather, just put it right over the top, apply a little pressure, and it'll go right through. And that's that. And the brake pads are in, ready to go. The last thing you need to do is just put these little cotter pins in. Just locate the holes. If I can do that, there we go. And slide those right back into those holes. 1 and 2. Brakes are ready. One more and we're ready to go.
The T-junction is fitted back into position, and it is important to note that all the brake lines are loose at this stage. Attach the upper end of the new brake line to the master cylinder using the hardware that comes with the new lines. Observe the correct position of the lines and the fittings so that there is no binding or stress. At this point, everything is just tightened by hand. You'll need to go ahead and reinstall the front tire and bolt the calipers into position. Attach each brake line end with the new hardware and be sure that the ends are aligned and are not binding against the stops and are seated flat on the calipers. Once you are sure about the alignment, you can go ahead and final tighten each of the bolts that secure the end of the brake lines. You can also go ahead and tighten the bolt at the master cylinder now too. Finally, install the front fender and the holding brackets with the new lines in place. Be sure to tighten all the fittings at the caliper, including the bleeder valves if you haven't already. The mounting of the T-junction can now be tightened, as well as the 3 brake line joints that come to the T.
Hey guys, this video is running kind of long, so we're going to break the video into 2 separate parts. Part 2 is going to pick it up right here, where we're getting ready to fill the system and bleed the brakes. I'm going to show you how to use a 99-cent handle like this to prime your system and make bleeding a whole lot easier. You can do the whole thing with just one person. It's really easy to do. So check that out. Part 2 is coming right after this. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and we'll see you in the next one.